Hello, guys. It's beautiful to see you all and to have this little chat with you. Today, I wanted to talk about masks. Masks. I'm sorry, I struggle with some letters and words. So, mask, plural. The meaning of multiple masks. So, every human being knows that in certain groups, we sometimes put on a mask and we fit into that group and we feel good about ourselves because we fit in. However, sometimes you've heard the term wolf in sheep's clothing, and that means that a wolf is wearing the mask of a sheep to be able to infiltrate the sheep flock and feast. Sometimes people wear masks online and they like to hide their identity so that they can be their true self. So, in actuality, wearing a mask online is almost like not wearing a mask at all, but instead of people actually knowing your identity, they just assume you are whatever your username says you are. Now, there are two masks that are frequently worn in the United States of America. There's an elephant mask and there's a donkey mask. I don't know why anybody would ever think like, oh, I want to wear a donkey mask. Like, elephant sounds kind of cool, but fucking donkey, you want to be a donkey? Okay, fucking whoever plays Donkey from Shrek. Anyway, moving forward from this, what I am saying is, regardless of the fact that there's a donkey or an elephant mask, it doesn't change the base truth that there is a human behind the mask. There is a true identity that is being covered with an assumed identity. And that being said, if we have already grown past the idea, like, obviously political apathy is complete bullshit, and anybody who says like, oh, I don't care about that stuff, like, is pretty stupid, because it is something to care about. However, there is a smart way to I don't care about that stuff without having to actually be ignorant yourself. So that way is actually understanding that no weapon forged against you shall prosper, like the Bible says, and that these are all weapons that are being forged against you. Meaning that in order for you to rise above them, you just have to know that God is going to lift you past it. And whatever you believe, you can do it yourself if you need to, but at the end of the day, it's easier when you trust in God. When you trust in a higher power that is protecting you, guiding your steps, and you take the moments in your life to meditate and make sure you listen closely to that voice or that person. The reason I actually want to talk about mask is because I want to talk about the mask of Israel. Now, most of you may think that behind the mask of Israel is just some Eastern Europeans that wanted to have a land of their own in the Middle East. However, the mask of Israel is not just a set of people. It's actually a huge system of control which actually dominates the United States of America and the United Kingdom and every empire before them. The Roman Empire, every single one, just each single one ruled by the same ruler under one mask. And the whole point of this ruler putting on the mask, or allowing other rulers to rule for him and using a whole other person as their mask, is so that they can avoid accountability for their actions. And so avoiding accountability for actions because of wearing a mask is a common is a common trope that we're all very familiar with by entering social media and seeing how people can talk to each other or just make fun of people with disabilities or other protected groups. I say protected just because we all should be protected, like I said, by God. Anyway, so going back to the mask, because it's important. People think that Israel is just a bunch of people masking themselves, but no, that isn't true. Israel is actually a psyop for all the people within Israel. Israel is a psyop for the IDF. Israel is a psyop for its own politicians. They actually believe that they have claim to this land because of a United States and Britain treaty that they decided to establish the land of Israel inside of Palestine and basically overthrow all Palestinian ownership of that land. And they proceeded to then program all the generations of Jews that came into Israel. It's fake, by the way, but they came into Palestinian land to occupy it and claim citizenship of a nation that was the convenience of two Western civilizations, which I would say the UK and the US are, even though, the UK lives over there. But we're going to just hold on to that for a second. Anyway, so Israel became the mask of the Western interest, and Israel became a mask under which the Western interest could act anonymously, or I don't know what the word is for when you're being anonymous only because you're using a scapegoat in front of yourself as the person who should be in charge or taking the blame for this. And at the end of the day, it's always just acting. It's whoever has the least empathy in order to be able to shift their entire soul, body into the expression of a soulless creature in order to complete a task that they have been put on their hands. So the player behind the mask needed espionage in the Middle East. So of course they created their own intelligence agency for Israel. And as you see in the world, there's only four major intelligence agencies that are ever mentioned. So that's CIA, United States, fucking KGB, Russia, and I'm sure they have a new name now because that name is kind of like a fucking taboo at this point. And they actually refer to Russia's intelligence force as one of the, I want to say like the worst, but that's just because they don't call much attention to all the things that have been covered up and publicly released now, however, from the past. MK Ultra, all these other extremely illegal, extremely immoral experiments that have been created by intelligence agencies. So KGB was one. I'm sure Germany had one in its prime, but now there's Mossad, and that's one of the major four now, which is crazy because Israel is such a small little piece of land. So why would their intelligence agency be one of the biggest in the world compared to the landmass of America and the population of America and how many people America actually has for their agency to actually be the top in the world? And the whole reason why the Mossad is better than the CIA is accountability. So the United States can't take accountability for the actions of the Mossad and still be world leaders, at least not in a very consensual way, That would definitely cause, I don't even know if it's even possible for people to revolution anymore. I feel like that's been domesticated out of us. But and I say us loosely because I'm there, like fucking torches, pitchforks, grab it all. But I do think that it's very unlikely and it's unsafe for us to actually go against. But you know what? It's either live or die. So they're gonna kill us anyway. There's no fucking way around that shit. They're not gonna pop that shit open. They're not gonna pop the immortality vault open for us so that we can fucking take a dip in Lazarus' pit and live our lives eternally. But like I said, it's not even something that we should want, because at the end of the day, one of the most beautiful things of life is how fleeting it is and how much pain and suffering and love can all exist at once. You actually can't have much pain and suffering without love, if any at all. I mean, physical pain, sure, doesn't discriminate. So, as I was saying, because I just want to finish this, is people think of Israel as its own sovereign entity that is acting out of its own accord, but the only accord it is acting under is according to plan. So, the plan of Israel to basically be that point in Middle Eastern, I should say, land, so that the United States and other Western interests can conduct their espionage in the local areas. I'm sure they have drones. I'm sure they have all sorts of things to be able to actually see what's going on in the world around them. And there's been a lot of scapegoating that has been thrown towards the Middle East. And they are right, it was in the Middle East, but it was us acting through our mask of Israel. So I'm sorry if everybody hasn't realized it. Sorry to skip ahead a couple of chapters, but the United States has always run Israel. The United Kingdom has always run Israel. The United Kingdom and the United States have never been separate entities. They knew they were losing power with a monarchy, and they decided to establish a new system that would remain compliancy for the people, because people back then were less easily controlled and much more likely to take arms against their oppressors, because that's the natural human form. That's the naturality of humanity, and you can't have oppression in humans. Humans were not meant to be oppressed. They're not meant to be contained by anyone other than themselves. Any sort of doctrines or laws they're not natural to a human. A human is flesh and bone and blood and all these beautiful emotions inside. And of course our consciousness, which is divinely crafted from God's own and handed down to us in our very presently limited mode. But I would say part of that limitation could be the confines of what we accept reality to be, because once you start trying to know what reality is, trying to differentiate what is possible and what isn't, you start to actually set limitations in your own mind for what can be possible. So rather than keeping the idea of anything's always possible until it's not, our mind, based off of fear and other strong, low vibrational emotions, keeps us in the confines of only being able to access a certain part of our conscious abilities. And so, like I said, I don't know why I said that. That's one of those things that everyone's like, I am not suicidal, I do not blah 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 blah, I am a safe driver, I do this and this and this, whatever. I know how to swim. Every single part of the letter draft. So what can I say except you're welcome? No, it's not you're welcome. It's a terrible sense of impending doom when you have the responsibility of being aware of something that's been happening or is happening. So I don't want to hear I'm very 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 closed-minded. I'm going to tell you right away. I'm closed-minded to try to listen to people's rationalities and whatever it is that makes people feel in control of the world around them. But that being said, it doesn't matter how much proof to whatever it is that you're trying to disprove. There is no way you can tell me. There's no way anybody ever could convince me that the United States and Israel are acting as two separate entities, and it is just one. Israel is our online presence. Israel is our secret not Finsta, because Finsta, I guess, but not the personal one. I'm talking about it's your fucking spam account. It's the one where you go on and you're like, yeah, I fucking hate all these people who are doing these things too, because you feel free to express yourself under anonymity. So I guess that's the catch line that I gotta start the video with there. However the fuck I can phrase that, and then we'll see.